Carlos believed he understood everything. A popular program, a devoted viewership, and a cast that contributed just enough mayhem to keep the drama interesting. However, he was unaware, perhaps chose to overlook that love and marriage, Huntsville's core principles were never about anarchy. The subject was Melody Shari. She didn't simply leave a set when she left. She took with her the spirit of the whole franchise. Let's avoid confusion now. It was always intended for the show to focus on couples navigating Huntsville business and connections. Let's face it though, most of us weren't watching to see Stormy start fights in circles or Marcel avoid responsibility. The spark, the genuineness. Melody was the main focus. The plot revolved around her. The link was, and the fissures are more than obvious now that she's gone. They're staring. Nobody anticipated the show would become as popular as it did. When LAMH originally debuted, it had a modest budget, was local, and had some rough spots. However, something changed as Melody moved in front of the camera. Regarding her failing marriage, she was extremely honest, unvarnished, and genuine. She didn't. We were taken into her world by her. The conflicts, the tears, and the globe. The people felt her, not just watched her. Yes, it was a messy narrative, but it was her story with Martel. Treachery, adultery, and reconstructing your being a single mother, these weren't merely story points. She was. Week after week, admirers flocked to support her, not merely to watch what she would do next. She became the focal point of the performance, and was aware of it. Every teaser clip, trailer, and promotional video had a song because they knew she would deliver. She produced viral moments while crying on camera. Twitter was in flames after she clapped back. Noise was brought by the rest of the cast. Although fame comes with a cost, Melody added depth. She was also carrying more than any one individual should beneath the glitter of TV lights, motherhood, music, running several enterprises, and ongoing criticism from co-stars. She was worn down by it. She finally came to the conclusion that it was no longer worthwhile. There was no drama in the walk-off. It had to do with peace. Melody departed because she was tired of being treated like a disposable plot point and carrying a show on her shoulders. She wasn't merely a character in this ensemble, which was something that was overlooked. The engine was. The show stalled as soon as she departed the stage. They made an effort to change course. They did. In fact, Letitia and Marcel were suddenly thrust into the limelight. Stormy was positioned as the next great thing. However, this is the object. Star power is not the same as camera time. And confusion takes over when there is no anchor. They lost their chemistry. Arguments seemed to be contrived. The stakes were completely removed emotionally. Fans weren't silent about it either. Social media went crazy. The new motto became "No Melody, No Show." Hashtags were popular. Fan pages have just been revived to share her previous scenes. Not only did the audience miss her, but they also felt deceived by the assumption that they wouldn't notice her departure. Not only did ratings decline, they fell precipitously. Engagement among viewers declined. And for the first time since, the beginning LAMH was no longer being discussed as if it were important. OW shifted into scramble mode behind the scenes. Last-minute script changes, emergency meetings, and even calls to Melody asking if she would return for a single scene were all unsuccessful. She was already gone, and the display? It sank slowly at first, then suddenly. The maelstrom that producers were about to face was underestimated. The dynamic of the entire cast completely changed without Melody. The intricate, multi-layered drama devolved into a contest to see who could shout the loudest. Letitia attempted to take charge, but her scenes lacked a compelling plot and an engaging emotional hook. Marcel leaned into his typical sarcasm, but it felt like a one-man show, with no genuine tension because Melody wasn't there to check his ego, as well as Stormy. Fans were able to see through her attempts to stir things up. wasn't natural, it was desperate. Filming apparently descended into chaos. Reshoots, passive-aggressive interviews, and walk-offs. Scenes lacked a central character to bring everything together. Cast members fought to be important, not because of plots, which is why they clashed. A collection of disjointed parts posing as a show replaced the emotional glue. Owen made every effort to make things better. They experimented with giving Martell a redemption narrative, changed plot lines in the middle of the season, and reframed episodes to revolve around new rivalries. But let's face it, Martell without Melody is like drama without context. There is no compelling individual plot for him. Without that anchor, he's just aimlessly attempting to make an impression. His power on the show comes from the tension with her. The crowd, however, continued to apply pressure. Brutal honesty blazed across Al's official page's comment areas. This isn't it. The true energy is where either cancel it or bring back Melody. It was a loud statement. Not all viewers were dissatisfied. They were finished. Loyalty had changed. People began writing directly for Melody rather than for the show. On YouTube and Instagram, fan accounts tracked her every step, republished her old scenes, and concentrated. On her updates, she grew larger than the actual franchise. Owen quickly gained recognition. They went into full panic mode, according to several accounts. More money than any other cast member had ever seen was offered to Melody for a guest appearance. She would be in charge of her story, obtain final cut approval, and pick who she filmed with. In a sense, they gave her the keys. Still, she refused. It's principle, not pride. According to reports, she felt as though they had used her completely. Tail and threw her away when she required assistance. They then knocked as if nothing had happened as the home began to burn down. She had no desire to serve as a band-aid solution for a show that only appreciated her when its ratings declined. The executives were shaken by that silent rejection. Since they now had no backup plan, they began extracting arbitrary concepts from the vault out of desperation. It was a gentle reboot one week and a spin-off the next. Then there were reports of new cast members, pals, distant cousins, and even cast members from other programs. In the hopes that something would stick, they were flinging everything at the wall. Fans, however, didn't buy it. They had already breached the emotional commitment. The option of shutting everything down was then purportedly mentioned, which was the most telling step of all. Soon, but not right away, they would think about scrapping love and marriage, Huntsville entirely, and starting over if the show's numbers didn't improve by the conclusion of the season, okay? And it became that awful. The once dominant weekend nights franchise was now facing the prospect of a complete shutdown. They did this because they placed a wager against the one who created the brand from the ground up. Dramatic cuts, upbeat music, and the promise of mayhem. The comments, however, painted a different picture. It seems forced. The queen is where? Give up acting. We are blind to what is absent. Audiences weren't duped. Love and Marriage Huntsville had lost its core, and no amount of clever editing could hide it. The audience sensed. Conversely, Melody wasn't concealing. She was softly but purposefully blogging, developing, and constructing. Her line of skincare products grew. She continued to release music. She gave insightful talks on healing, attended women's conferences, and became a personal brand expert on Instagram. She continued to go as if she never needed to glance back. Even as the network fumbled, she was now her own stage. Word spread that OWN had offered her a spin-off show that focused solely on her life rather than merely a guest appearance. After LAMH and after Martell completely under control. It was a dream transaction on paper. Melody, however, did not leap. According to insiders, she hesitated because she didn't trust the people, not because she couldn't carry it. Putting it forward, take caution after being bitten. She had recovered from the mess caused by the show. She had no intention of returning to a situation in which she was not in control of the story. Supporters waited. People searched for hints. At every public appearance, YouTube vlog, and Instagram Live. Would she come back? Did she have any plans of her own? Something larger? A streaming agreement? A podcast? And with every mysterious, did she share a quote regarding divine timing, growth, or boundaries? The rumors only got louder. She didn't have to take the lead. Her quiet was enough to be heard. Owen, on the other hand, began to scramble more. It has been stated that certain cast members were asked to reprise previous arguments as filler during test sequences involving newbies. Even bringing back former side characters for fictitious reunions was suggested by one producer. It was becoming absurd. There was desperate energy all around, but the spark refused to come back. The numbers followed. One of the lowest-rated premieres in the history of the show was the one without Melody. Official video engagement had fallen by more than half. Conversations on Twitter, which used to be lively every weekend, have slowed down. Even the most devoted supporters started uttering it aloud. The enchantment has vanished. The news began to get picked up by industry blogs. It was dissected frame by frame by YouTubers. Commentators on Black reality television, what space wouldn't publicly acknowledge. The franchise was finished without Melody. It had nothing to do with whether you liked her or not. The links she made, the story arc she carried, and the energy she contributed were all important. She had experienced the truth. The others were merely acting it out. A rumor was AU's final hope. Melody was spotted by a fan on the scene close to the production vans. The internet exploded. Would she return? Brief appearance. Taping of a reunion. However, there was no confirmation. And Melody grinned and responded, "I'm focused on what feeds my peace." When asked directly during a live Q&A, "That's all I have to say." Although it wasn't a yes, it wasn't a no either. Now, she had the cards. Oh, I knew it. The drama, the arguments, and the mayhem may not be love and marriage, Huntsville's lasting legacy. It may be the success of a single lady who used reality TV as a springboard for something far more significant. Melody didn't simply walk off the stage. She has outgrown it.